My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my spoiler-filled review for Joker Folie, Deux. But let's just call it Joker 2. And I wasn't planning to make this video, but this has been a very interesting week. Because this movie is getting so much hate. It received a D cinema score, which is the worst cinema score for any comic book movie ever. It's underperforming at the box office, but within the past day, it's getting some love now. People are talking about how this movie is a misunderstood masterpiece, how it's a future cult classic, how if you don't like this movie, you're stupid and you just don't understand it. So I thought I'd make this review where I can talk about what I think this movie is about and why it just doesn't work for me in any way. But I do want to repeat some of my issues here right off the bat. The number one problem is the fact that this movie is boring. It's a very unengaging movie and it goes on for far too long, and I wasn't interested while watching it. I was just bored. Another big issue of this movie is the musical scenes, and I'm actually okay with the fact they turned this movie into a musical. My issue is that the music just killed the pacing for this movie. And it's not entertaining, the songs don't sound good, it doesn't push the story forward, and I don't think it reveals anything about the characters. Everything in those musical numbers, we already know that's how the characters view things. Number 3. Look, say what you will, but as someone who loves the character Joker, this is objectively not Joker. Like, if you wanted to make an Arthur Flick movie, then go for it. But this movie is just dishonest. And then we get to issue number 4. Well, at the end of the first movie, Arthur has become Joker, and despite being locked up, he has never felt so free. Only for him to be Arthur Flick at the beginning of this movie. Like, at the beginning of the first movie and at the beginning of this sequel, he is the exact same. So it just felt like a total regression of the character, and I like it when sequels commit. You know, it's a continuation, so follow up on the ending, and the Arthur Flick we see here, it just felt like there was no development in his character. So I really hated that as well. And there is a scene in this movie where Joker has to make his closing statements, and he sits down and he's like, yes, I killed those 5 people. Actually, it's 6. You didn't know about my mom, but I killed her as well. And he just tells the truth. And this is the turning point of the story. And I don't know why it happened. Why did Arthur suddenly switch gears right there and then? Is it because he actually cared about what Gary had to say to him? Is it because of what the prison guards did to him that reminded him of his father? What was the reason? And the fact that such a key moment has unclear character motivation is not a good thing. And I think what would have been better is if he found out that Lee lied to him about who she was and how they met just before that moment. It happens like an hour prior, but if he's in love and then he finds out that love was fake, then I would have believed his change in character. And speaking of their love, I just never believed he was in love. I just didn't. There was no emotion to that romance. I also think the entire last 20 minutes is so dragged out. Like there's a bomb that goes off, and it kind of seems to look like that's how Harvey Dent ends up like Two-Face, which I found very odd for this movie. But Arthur escapes, and people who worship the guy are just like, yeah, we'll get you out of here, come with us. And he's like, no, no. And then he gets out, he finds Lee on the stairway, and she breaks up with him. He gets captured again. He goes back to Arkham. Well, he gets stabbed and he dies. And I get what the movie's trying to do. Like, he has his opportunity to escape here. He doesn't want to be this symbol. He just wants to be Arthur Flick. So I get all of that, but I just don't think it's needed. Like, those ideas are already present in the movie, and I think it would have just been better if he was seen as guilty. Harley Quinn gets up and leaves, and he keeps hoping she sees him one more time. She never does. He gets the electric chair. That's it. I think that would have been a better ending. But it's just so stretched out and it's so unnecessarily long. And it doesn't help that we know this entire movie that he is going to be seen as guilty. So we're just waiting for that moment to come. And then also the fact that the defense was that Arthur and Joker have a split personality, I did not buy for a second. Like, Joker is the progression of Arthur's character. It's not a split personality. And maybe it's trying to say that Catherine Keener is willing to lie to try and save his life, but the animated short at the beginning of this movie seems to indicate the same thing. So I disagree with that take. And then, after he fires Catherine Keener, he's now talking to Gary. He's now the one representing himself. And what does he do? Nothing. I was hoping for a moment where it would be interesting, where someone would say something that would get me thinking, but that moment just never happened. He asks Gary just a couple questions and nothing. And I don't buy for a second that they would let him dress up as the Joker during this trial. For a movie so grounded in realism, that took me out of it completely. And then the fact that the prison guards, did what they did to him just felt like it was trying to be too edgy. I didn't really buy it. In fact, it kind of took away from the movie because I actually kind of liked the friendship between Arthur and Brandon Gleeson's character. I think his name was Sullivan. I think. Hold on one second. Yeah, Jackie Sullivan. So, I kind of liked the fact that there were moments where they actually got along, but then Jackie had to remind him that he's in charge, he's an authority figure. And I thought that friendship actually had some layers to it, but then this scene just shows that he is evil, he's despicable, he is scum. And I don't know, I felt like it made this relationship less interesting. It's now just a typical prison guard and the inmate relationship. And also Zazie Beetz being in this movie, the fact that Arthur's mom talked shit about him all the time felt very convenient, I guess. Like, I think it would actually be more interesting if she just had nothing to say. He was a neighbor. I never talked to him, and now my life is a circus because of this. Just leave me alone. And I like that idea, but then she's like, oh, by the way, his mom said this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, the movie is constantly so close to getting interesting, but then it just backtracks. And that's why I hate this movie so much. Was I a little too harsh on it on Monday? I'm not too sure. Maybe. I guess I'll see how this movie sits with me, because there is interesting ideas kinda present, but it just doesn't really explore them in any effective or meaningful way. And I just felt like anytime it was going to go an interesting direction, it just kind of backtracked. And it ended up just saying lots of the same stuff about mental illness and how society treats the mentally ill, and it didn't work for me at all. So that's my take. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.